Jesus.
So, you guys know, those of you that watch this program know, I made a big proclamation. I said, guys, I'll never talk about this hunk of shit again. I'm never talking about John. For as long as I live, I'll never speak about him. And that was, what, like 45 days ago? Something like that?
The egg is still wet on your face. Blind Mike here.
Well,
for minute one, I said it was not going to. Hello.
Yeah, never gonna happen.
Welcome to the I Told You So show.
We all knew on some level it wasn't gonna happen. But I did say at the time, I said, we'll talk about something if it's a 10 or higher. And then I went to the people of YouTube with my tail between my legs. I put a poll up this week, and I said, you guys decide. And here's the thing is like, what's nice about having a small audience as we do, I'll spin having a small YouTube channel. What's nice about it is I was ready for everyone. Like, this is what I see on Reddit with Carl, where anytime Carl tries anything, they're like, you piece of shit, fuck you for trying something new. How fucking dare you? And that's what I was ready for. And then pretty much we have a small enough audience that everyone was like, yeah, man, just do whatever you want. Like, if you like talking about it, just fucking talk about it. It's fine. It's like, oh, okay. Good.
But Blind Michael Geary.
Yes.
Much like I did to Steve Castellano in 1997 when he told me that he's kicking heroin, and then 3 days later he asked me for heroin. I'm going to say no to you. I'm not giving you any Stuttering John. No. I'm not letting you back in.
Well, this is what it felt like. That's why I was invited on Point Dabble Points, and I was like, good, I'll get that out here. You know, I'll just have a little taste. Carl's like, you know, you can have a few beers, right? You're not a pussy. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm not gay. I can have a couple of beers with the boys. And now here I am.
O'Douls. Have some O'Douls.
Yeah, it was brought to my door. So yeah, we are talking about Stuttering John today, but
and also rest in peace, Steve Castellano.
Who is Steve Castellano?
Oh, he's a friend of mine. No, he's a friend of mine. He's dead from heroin.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, rest in peace, Steve.
I hope the same thing doesn't happen to you, Blind Mike.
Cardiff's fingerprints are all over this now. So one thing I was going to say, though, is like the part of the reason I wanted to stop talking about John was like the stuff, for example, Phil Elmore was doing annoyed me, where I was on with him and Vinny for that classic battle that they had. I was on that episode. And I noticed, like, oh, Phil's emailing the clubs now, and then he does a show called, like, Saving the News or something. It was like a news show that he...
Surviving the News.
That he turned into, like, Stuttering John every night, and it was always, like, a sensational headline, and I was like, oh, I don't want to come off like that. Like, that, to me, I really didn't like. And then when I logged into my YouTube channel today, the title of this episode was Stuttering John, the Return of the Master. And I was like, no, that's the opposite of what I want to do.
Yes, you're welcome for all that work.
It does work. The algorithm, the YouTube algorithm really is catered to
Mike hates views. Mike hates views.
But I wanted the people to know it's one of the several topics we talk about. So don't just, like, you know, don't get your hopes up. We're going to move on to other things.
Blind Mike, you lead him in with the Big Mac. You're not talking about the fish fillet. You lead him in with something. It's a loss leader. He's a loss.
I understand.
Okay, marketing with Hack Ride. Okay, let's go.
Yeah. Brand yourself as a demon.
But
yes,
yeah, you will definitely get a lot more views talking about Stuttering John. But yeah, the Phil Elmores, I was a little, I don't want to say irritated by Phil Elmore, but it was the Johnny Come Lately, I guess.
That was what a lot of people accuse Shuley of. Like, to me, that was always like they have some sort of personal relationship. I get that Shuley did definitely step a little bit on what Carl was doing, but like it's from a different enough angle where, like, you know, John accused Shuley of being his mole and all that stuff. Like, it is what it is. Phil literally felt like, and maybe people will accuse me of this, but genuinely, like, I have a lot of similar interests to Carl. So I'll talk about John and Opie and Tom Myers, gay sex and frosting our tips. We have a lot of similar interests. Phil, to me, felt like a guy that just came in and was like, oh, I'm going to completely change my channel to get views, you know? That's how it appeared to me, but...
Yeah, he was... Again, I was willing to give him a chance. again, I'm willing to give anyone a chance. If you're an old school Stern guy or something, and you want to jump in on this, I'm cool. Fine. I don't own anything here. Nothing belongs to me, so it's not for
Right.
me to pass out dabbler tokens to play the game.
Yeah.
But he was on. I think it was on that show that you were on, and somebody played the. It was one of the. Someone made a Steve Langford reference. I want you to go to jail for this. And he had no idea what it was.
It's when he brought up like emailing the club, because to me that also felt like something that was you could hear me react live on air where I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
And to me it was something like he made it seem like it was this moral obligation he had to teach John a lesson. And to me it felt more like, hey guys, look at how cool what I'm doing is. I'm one of you. It didn't feel genuine to me. And that's kind of where I was like, all right, let me take a break from John. But I think a lot of people in that poll I put up, a lot of the comments were just like, hey, just mix it in once in a great while. Don't do it every week. But like, if you like talking about it, then you should talk about it. And one of the things I really wanted to talk about, there were two this week. One, Carl covered beautifully. Well, he covered both of these, but he covered the Stuttering John crying episode, the meltdown that he had where this is one of the things I wanted to stop talking about with John in a way, where it's like, you're doing this again, where you have this tearful, I was a teacher and I influenced a lot of kids and I would call their homes. Like this Braveheart speech you would give. So I was like, you're doing that again. That's the stuff that felt repetitive, but it reeled me in a little bit. I was hooked. And then when I saw Cardiff on this
Tom Myers hero speech.
Yes.
That rant.
Yeah, I'm running into a burning building. I'm a firefighter. I'm a cop, whatever. So when I saw Cardiff on, I messaged you as I was watching it, and I was like, this is brilliantly done. Because to anyone that thinks John's going to learn the error of his ways or you're going to teach him a lesson, Cardiff finally proved definitively it's just not going to happen. There's no talking sense to this guy.
No.
So, Hackrat,
it'll sink in for a little bit.
Let's just since we set it up like this, we'll get to Kevin Brennan maybe after the John stuff, but let's just dive into Stuttering John if we could. Is that okay?
Absolutely. This one is called "What Have We Missed?"
Yeah. So this is you're gonna have to fill me in, Cardiff, because I've paid attention a little bit, but maybe I've missed some things. I don't understand what the fuck this was. This is how he opened the show that you were on. I don't know if you saw this at the very beginning.
Yes, I was busy trying to get onto the show because he sent me a link, but still had me blocked in StreamYard at this point. So yes, I was watching.
We should have done that to you.
Oh, damn it. All right, here we go.
Why, hello, everybody. I'm so sorry I'm late. When I got back from the army, I just had to take my second shit of the day. And let me tell you
Pause
something.
real quick. He is talking about
My
the Salvation
roids.
Army, right? He's not trying to
Salvation.
convince us that he's joined the military.
Calls it the army. That's fucking hilarious.
The army.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Blind Mike Geary,
Yes.
because on tonight's episode of Potato Soup, a
Ooh, go watch that.
Tukey Soup Potato Soup crossover Christmas miracle extravaganza.
Wow.
Yes, it's going to be phenomenal. I do have a clip of him from yesterday saying that him and Dan were in the war. So I don't know.
The sump
really
wars. The wars of the sump.
I really have
1980s.
no idea, but maybe he's going to lean into some stolen valor soon with his Salvation Army service.
Oh, that'd be funny. He shows up with dog tags. And
And a bell.
it would be a crime if I faked these. Let's continue.
The same guy who made my diploma made me these.
Really angry. You have no idea. The burning sensation. It's killing me, these roids.
This is how he
It's
starts
so
the show.
painful. All the blood.
This is better than
That
most.
blood I could be donating to somebody who needs it. But
Now,
instead,
Cardiff,
I'm
is that an
donating.
accusation people have left? Like, hey, you should be donating your hemorrhoid blood. Why aren't you?
No, that's just John's way of making a witty joke about hemorrhoids. See, Vince the lawyer has told him how much his kids love when he jokes about his hemorrhoids and scat humor, like the shitting jokes. So he's really leaning into it for he's really giving Devin and Alexander what they what they crave the most.
Kids, gather around. We're gonna watch a stunt boy from 30 years ago talk about the aging process. He's an older man now.
Red Cross locations around the world are now getting bags of hemorrhoid blood just dropped off on their stoop. Here,
This
use
is fascinating. So as we watch this, and like Cardiff's doing a great job translating for me because, like I said, I haven't been watching as much as I was, and I turned this on, and I went to the beginning of the episode to pull clips, and I was like, "What bit is he doing here?" This continues for a while.
Well, in your defense, it is a very visual gag, so
Oh, okay,
you maybe
good.
missed the big part of the joke.
Okay, good.
Leading it to the toilet. Jesus.
Pounding a Red Bull. That's good for the hemorrhoids.
It's a diuretic.
2 shits. And whenever nothing really comes out, it's just a sensation. And when you push, the roids start getting bigger. I got like 3 roids.
But really,
now.
to break this down for you more,
Yeah,
ever since the shitting the sheets controversy,
yeah.
where he used his hemorrhoids as the defense, like if you were to chart his topics of his shows over the last, say, 2-3 years, hemorrhoids was a very, very small part of his show. But ever since the shitting the sheets and the hemorrhoid defense, he's peppered it in more. He's building up that he's changing history is what he's doing. he's really trying to show, see, I've had these hemorrhoids the whole time. That's all it was.
It's interesting that's the logic behind it, because me watching this, it seems almost, if you didn't know anything about it, it seems as if he's taunting you guys like he doesn't really have hemorrhoids. It seems like that's the bit he's doing. Maybe the tone is what's throwing me off, I think.
Yeah, no, he's just a genius comedian. That's all. That's the tone you're hearing that you don't.
It's a thinking man's comedy. I've thought a lot about this.
Yeah. It's really painful.
Jesus Christ.
Let me.
How does this not get you demonetized on YouTube? We've talked about the stuff like that. Barstool has gotten taken down, or even just this channel. How does just the grossness of John not get you banned from YouTube?
Because he's a liberal.
That's right.
All right, we have up next Tukey and Cardiff.
Yeah, so this is the real crux of the issue. So for any of my people that haven't been following John as diligently as most in the Dabbleverse, this is the main subject we're talking about today is him going after Tukey and Cardiff. So let's hear from John first.
We did get Rocco Burrows' address. We did. That we know is true. I know his wife's name, his kids' names, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to do anything with it now?
Not yet.
It feels like Liam Neeson talking to the kidnappers. We've got your information.
I have a very special set of skills.
I've got a very special needs set of skills.
And that brings us to the question of the day. Now, I swear, hold on, this is the girl that I'm supposed to go on a date with tonight. Let me see.
Oh, that's pretty rad.
How long was this after the hemorrhoid talk? Was this right after the hemorrhoid talk? This girl's coming out with me. Was there a space in between?
That's a good point. I think there's a little space, but not nearly enough. Certainly not enough for comfort if I was the one going on the date.
All right, I have an idea, Cardiff. Put where he's talking about his hemorrhoid up on Tinder and see what kind of girls we get. Here we go.
I don't work for you, Hackride.
Yes, you will.
All right.
I left the typing in. You can keep playing it, Hackride, but I left the typing in because I've said this before, but his typing sounds cartoonishly like if you were writing a cartoon and you needed, big dumb oaf typing. This is the perfect audio for it.
It is.
Hypnotic.
It doesn't help that he's using his laptop microphone
So anyway,
to broadcast with.
so look, I don't personally I don't have a problem with Cardiff. So
It's nice.
I removed the strike on Cardiff.
True.
Okay, so that's exciting. So basically, if you could summarize this for us, Hack Ride, where do we stand now? Because I know a lot has happened. Has he? I heard him Friday, I think it was, saying now he's cool with you and Tukey, even though he's already doxed Tukey. But I
Yes,
guess he's cool with
multiple
you guys
times.
now. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay.
And he's in the process of removing. He can't remove the strike on Tukey because Tukey countered, but he has sent an email to YouTube as he was instructed to remove the strike, even though he was already countered.
Do you think, is there an expectation with John where when he
Yes.
gets to a good place with you guys, when he removes the strike and all that,
Mhm.
is there like an expectation in his mind that you and Tukey are going to stop interacting with like Carl and Shuli? Because I feel like that's what the crux of all of this is. Because what frustrates me about John is like 1 week he's friends with a guy, then the next week he's not, then he hates them, then he loves them, then they're an asshole, then they're on his show. I think there's some expectation with him, like, okay, me and Cardiff are good now. He'll never associate with Carl again, or something like that.
There was a time. I mean, me and John have had quite the roller coaster of a relationship.
Sure.
But there was a time, I believe, where I backstabbed him by going on Shuli's show or Carl's show or whatever. But I'm never going to stop doing that. And even when I did stop going on Shuli's show, it was for the bit. Like, it was just, it was
Right,
fucking
right.
nonsense. But I did make it very clear in the email he referenced, where I went on one knee and begged him to remove the strike from my
Yes.
the very legitimate strike from my channel. I believe I put it. I said, John, I will only from here on forth, I will only goof on things that you put on the internet. Good-natured ribbing, I think, is the term I used. I borrowed from Kevin Brennan.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not going to stop doing potato soup. The show's a hit. Come on.
Yeah. That's what's vexing is you saying like, "Hey, John, from here on out, I'll only cover stuff you put on the internet." That's all you've ever done, to my knowledge.
That's all I've ever done. Yes,
That's
but he just looped me into the wedding video. I mean, come on. I mean, Ralph was on the wedding video. Anyway, but
Sure.
there's things we don't need to get into right now. But
Oh, well, we might have some clips alluding to that, but let's keep going in order.
This one is called The Origin.
Yeah, so he's talking a little bit about like in his mind how this all started, I guess.
The origin of all. So what happens is Vinny and I are supposed to do this comedy show in Rochester, right?
and me, yes.
Yes. And then all I said was, Vinny, can Cardiff, like just in the meeting, can he be himself and not a fucking potato? Do you think that's a unheard of request?
It's not. Well, yeah, I think it's definitely. I don't think anyone has ever said, "Let me see the potato" without the potato before for an event. But John, the
I
past
I
2
just
weeks
wanted to
proved
talk to a
why.
real person.
But the past 2 weeks of you throwing my name around, and actually, it's pretty close to what my actual name is, so that's a pretty good bit. Anyway, you proved why I didn't want to go in a meeting without the filter.
Yeah, but no. You did that show
the
with
spin.
Tukey trashing, the anti-trans shit and the fucking racist shit about my ex-wife's husband.
I didn't do that show.
Oh, I thought you did do that show.
No,
Oh, I thought you were on that show.
no.
Oh, all right. Well, I got bad intel then.
Intel? You didn't watch it? That's what's so
hurts.
fucking frustrating about John is he just believes everything everyone says to him.
Well, it's the video of mine that he struck was probably almost to the letter of the law the most transformative video I've ever produced.
What was it? Just so for background?
It was 1 minute and 30 seconds where he was saying that I threatened him in an email and said,
Yeah.
I'll show you, but he doesn't. So I show them and I put up all the context to the accusations he was making towards me. Like I was just defending myself against the accusations he made. And I showed where he threatened me, not where I threatened him. So again, it just made no sense. I'm like, of all the things you're going to strike, this is the one.
This is where it gets frustrating with John, and this is why I in my mind I was kind of like maybe I can try to tell these guys, like, hey, take a break from John. Now, clearly, even I couldn't do that. So I understand you and Carl are never going to do that. But in my mind, I was like, now his entire show is bringing up you and Tukey and Lady K and the dues payer and Barbara Levy and Silent Mike and bitching about them. And it's the same complaints every single day. Like, that's his whole show now. What would he do? How would he fill time, or would he even do a show if for like a month you guys pretended he didn't exist? And that to me is fascinating, because now before he had his like political shit. Now he's dug himself in a hole where he has to keep the war going.
Are you saying, are you alluding to the fact that the Dabbleverse and Stuttering John are like two leeches 69ing each other? Like we need each other to survive now?
Well, actually, no, because I think like Carl, for example, his podcast would be just as big if he stopped talking about Stuttering John. Like, some people would be annoyed, I'm sure, but like it's still an interesting concept for a podcast. Like, it's a good podcast without Stuttering John. So actually, I'm kind of saying the opposite. Like, he always is like, Carl needs me to survive. I don't think that's true. And even listening to you, like, I know most of what you do is still probably John related, but like, I think you're a funny, interesting guy. Like, I have other topics that we're going to get to that I hope you stick around for, because I think you're an interesting broadcaster. So I don't think, like, I think John is the only one. Maybe you could argue Shuley. Like, I don't know if people are watching as much if he's not talking about John. I just don't know what he does. But like, the rest of you guys, I think, would be fine. Like, Tukey would be fine.
Yeah,
if John didn't exist.
And Carl, obviously, yeah, Carl would be fine too. But I think it makes the show a lot more fun. Like,
sure, absolutely. But I guess my point is, you guys are getting to a point where people are interested in you guys as shows, broadcasters.
Yes,
John,
you've hit on it.
They're not.
You've hit on it, Blind Mike. Let me interject.
Yes.
You guys are bigger than the Dabbleverse. Get out of here. Like, what are you doing? You're playing with your food. That's how I look at it. Tukey, Cardiff, you guys, you could have millions of followers, and yet you sit around and hang with John. Why? What sort of perverted, sadomasochistic potato are you?
Here's the thing. I get why. Like, look at me. I'm talking about it now. I do find.
Oh, you belong here. You belong here, Blind Mike. Yes, you're exactly where you belong. Cardiff, what are you doing?
Well, yes, I will admit that I'm extremely talented. Yes, you're correct, Blind Mike. I am a genius.
Yes.
Tukey ain't bad either.
Yeah.
But this is our niche of the internet right now. This is where, I mean, we could go somewhere else.
Well, like millionaires at a strip club. Get out of here and get wives. God damn it.
We've often joked, like, we just want to appear in some other universe.
Yeah.
Like, there's some other Dabbleverse type universe somewhere on the internet that we don't know about, that we just want to pop into, and just to see people say, what the fuck is a puppet and a potato doing here? What happened?
Well, I'll tell you though, here's the interesting thing about John is, like, I look for that shit for who are these socials specifically. And it's like, we have some funny people. Like, I think Delete Laws as a character is a lot like Stuttering John.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no one that gives you the wealth of content that John does.
No.
Maybe a lot of it's probably because he battles back with you guys now and stuff like that. But there's no one else where every day it's like, I have to talk about this because this guy's making such a buffoon of himself.
And the history, like, and the
True.
the career. I mean, if Corey Feldman was doing a daily podcast, maybe.
Right. But even that's another example where it's like, Corey Feldman, interesting guy. It's not every day that you have something new to talk about.
Yeah. So,
is there a guy currently on Stern that would be as interesting as Stuttering John if they had a show right now?
Not even Howard Stern.
No, yeah, right. No.
What about this? Fred Norris or Sour Shoes? I think those two could compete.
No, because they wouldn't. It's not. No one's as interesting as John. He says he's the GOAT.
I love Sour Shoes, but he is a character.
Right.
John is a character.
Yeah, characters are terrible.
John's himself.
Yeah.
John's himself every day.
All right, up next we have Well Said John. Sorry, doxing. Doxing is up.
Oh, this is a big thing, and this is something that Cardiff points out again masterfully over and over again to John. Is John tries to spin this. Now you remember the name that John said earlier. I don't want to harp on it too much, but it's out there. That's Tukey's name. So John has been doing this thing where he's literally just doxing who Tukey is. And he's done it to Carl. Even after all this with Cardiff, I heard him spelling Carl's real last name, which the only reason you do that is if you want people to find Carl in some nefarious way. So he's still doing it to people, and it comes up when Cardiff is on with him.
Yes, and after this clip, let's do some super chats. I'm just throwing that out.
Haven't I told you that I think that you're one of the funniest guys I've had on this show?
Well, we're both bone
So
carnies.
if I say this, then what? Okay, in your
Didn't you
mind-
also say I'm not going to dox you, Cardiff?
I didn't dox you.
You thought you did.
No, we knew it wasn't.
Twice.
All right, Timothy, that shit. We knew it wasn't real. I
Patrick?
promise you.
He just
Me and my
clicked the hook.
buddy, we looked that name up 1 billion times.
Hold
And
on.
we
Pause
knew-
1 second. Cardiff, do me a favor.
Yes.
Google Timothy Electric, if you could.
Will do.
Let me know when that process is done.
Oh, really? Legitimately, you want me to
I-
Google Timothy? Like, okay.
Yeah. Google
Yeah,
Timothy
I
Electric.
wasn't sure either.
No, go for it.
And we knew it wasn't real. There was no Facebook. There was no LinkedIn. There was no Instagram. There was no fucking record
Lots of stuff.
of a and then when that idiot gave us the, your
Pause 1 second.
alleged.
Have you Googled it yet, Hackrod?
You told Cardiff to. I didn't do either.
Or whichever one of you. Neither of you. did?
Yes, I Googled Tim Electric.
Okay. Now do that 999,999,999 more times. See if anything different comes up while you're
Okay.
doing that, please.
Oh, shit, I'm Yahooing. Fuck. Hold on.
Bing it.
Use Bing. Use Bing.
Location. We even looked that up. We knew it was fake.
So then what was the purpose of going on the air throwing that around? What did that do?
I was doing that because the guy kept saying, do it. And then I thought, I'll do it. The guy maybe will give me real information.
I thought if I believed his lies, then he would start telling me truths. Yes. And that always happens with people trolling you on the internet.
If he thinks I'm stupid enough to believe this, then he'll definitely give me the good stuff.
Yeah, that's the history of the internet. When someone says like, "Oh, I stupidly believed the misinformation he gave me," now he's gonna feel bad for me probably and start telling me the truth. That's how it works. I think usually.
All right, let's get to some super chats here. They're
Yes.
piling up, Mike. I'll go ahead and read this one, and then Electrify, who's also here, will read the next one. Simon343 says, "Good morning, gentlemen." Good morning, Simon.
Hello, Simon.
Electrify.
All right, we got Dang Lizard, $2 or £2 actually. You made it longer than SJ's swan song. Goodbye, Mike.
That's true. That's true. I think in that time, John did retire for a week, so I guess I did make it longer than him.
That was the Jamaica trip? No.
Yeah, I missed out on that. I think.
You missed nothing. All right. From Schmel Buckman, $1.99. Here is a terminal poor. Shmuel Buckman.
Shmuel. Very nice
Shmuel.
man.
Yes,
Hello,
Bill is a
Shmuel.
terminal
Good to have
ball. Here, he had a minute over. I don't know what that means. He doesn't like Phil. All right, Electrify, you're up.
Dang Lizard again, £5. Cardiff, did you request Krager's absence because he got after the little tater tots? Or has he finally been caught?
No,
Ew.
I was a little upset that in the invite I was not informed. I had to learn from Twitter this morning that Kragers wasn't going to be here. That's
Yeah,
a little
Carter
bit
was
of bait and
disappointed.
switch.
He said, I believe the quote was, what was it? Not enough puss for you, or something like that.
No Kragers equals no sopping puss
Yes.
on the
that's
show today. So
right.
no
Let's-
Cardiff Electric.
All we
Well,
have,
guys-
all we have is 21-year-old girls in the comments going, "I love when Craig doesn't wear a hat on this show. It really turns me on."
Yes,
He's a
yes,
sexy beast.
Let's wish him well at rehab. All right, next up, we have John's Neglected Cats, $1.99. I've been binging. Why are you laughing? I love it.
Well, thank you, buddy. I know Cardiff's a big fan. He mentions the Abbott and Costello episode that we did all the time, so I appreciate that.
You should really do one on Opie and Anthony versus Howard Stern. That would be
We-
great.
As a matter of fact, Cardiff, we did. And guess what? Over the Christmas break, we've got Opie versus Jim Norton coming out. It's a bonus episode we did months and months ago, but I'm releasing it for free next week.
Oh, recycled crap. Okay, got it.
What do we do here? All right.
Not to the people.
Have you seen our mic drops? That's all they are. All right, Electrify, you're up.
Okay, wish me luck. Penny 5, wrinkled 12, $9.99. Yesterday,
It's penis
VTL
wrinkle 12.
It's
thank you.
penis wrinkle. Yes, I know you were not trying to say penis. It's penis wrinkle.
Who would have thought we'd miss Craig's readings of these?
Peanut 5 wrinkle. All right, go ahead.
Yesterday, VTL and SJ were discussing renting Carl's place. John asks VTL if it was legal for him to eat spicy food because it would purposefully aggravate his roids. He
Hold on.
wants to get calculable blood everywhere.
Poor
Vince
Carl.
Lawyer's another guy that annoys the shit out of me, but we'll get. I think we have a clip talking about him, so we'll get to him in a bit.
If
But,
you could just go back to penis wrinkle for a second, though.
yeah,
Yes, here you go. Here you go.
I do want to know, does the 12 mean something, or were there 11 penis wrinkles before this guy found the name that finally...
Oh, interesting.
And then he's still wit with it. He's like, oh, there's 11 more? Oh, I've had it since childhood. We're keeping penis wrinkle.
God, penis wrinkle 7. Damn it.
All right, we're almost done. Got a few more. Shannon Duffy, $1.99. Vince takes Chinese HGH. Army Major steals valor. And fuck you, Army Major is awesome. But I agree with the first part.
Whoa, yeah, we can't have that. Ojeda's a great man.
Yes, this is the first time I've ever said fuck you to a super chat. That's amazing. All right, you're up.
Magnesium linoleum, $5. Don't exaggerate, Mike. John also gets incredibly drunk and does whippets on his show too.
Oh, well, that's pretty cool. Has he done whippets on his show?
They alluded to whippets yesterday. So Vince, the lawyer, sent him some whipped cream cans. And he said, oh, maybe, but I just finished editing that clip for potato soup, Tukey soup, Christmas extravaganza, crossover extravaganza tonight. I can't think
And where
of
can
more
people
words.
find that, Cardiff?
On the Cardiff Electric YouTube channel and the Tukey's YouTube channel, all the YouTube channels. You want it on here? Put it on here. We'll stream here as well.
Yeah, simulcast it over here.
I want it everywhere.
Can I have it on my
Tonight
channel
at-
too, Cardiff?
Yes, of course. Of
We'll
course. This
do
guy
like,
every channel.
We'll do like when they would do like Hurricane Katrina telethons and shit like that. We'll
Yes.
do it on every network.
Stream simulcast. I
Simulcast.
don't care.
All right, got just a few more here.
Yeah, let's speed this process up. Jesus, you.
Sorry, we're having fun. Day 4.
Who's
John's
having fun?
John's neglected cat. Day 4 alone in Canoga Park. The bowl of stale beer is gone, and we've licked the takeout containers bare. We are not long for this world. Send help. Oh, poor kitties. All right, and last one here.
All right.
Go ahead.
In my
Rebecca.
defense, my screen is really small. So Cordis, $2. Hey Cordis, this lineup is worth a super chat. Astronomical.
You have it.
Well, thank
That's
you.
right.
Thank you,
That'd
folks.
be
That was
worth more than
excruciating. Let's
$2,
get back to the.
but I mean,
It's worth
All right, so
$2
this one is-
for you.
This one is called Well Said, John.
All right. Yeah, John. I mean, he's known for his articulation. So let's hear it.
hey, but you seem to do the same thing with fake information that you do with real information, because I've heard Rocco's name mentioned many times on this show.
But hey, blame that on Vince. Vince is the one who gave me that information.
So we blame the person that gave it to you, not the person that spouts it on his show every day.
Vinny spouted on his show
But you spouted it on your show, so why are we talking about Vinny?
because he spouted on his show. It was out there already.
So you don't have to keep repeating it. The wedding video was out there already. Why are you mad at Tukey?
because
Great point.
of just the way it was, like the way that he was like all the anti-trans. Let me say, Carl,
Because I'm sure Vince the lawyer
children.
handled it with kid gloves and played like harp music in the background.
It's fascinating. You can actually, I think, if you listen close enough, hear the gears turning as he's saying, "How do I just spin this
Okay, but you see,
hypocrisy in my
that he
favor?"
was like all the anti-trans. Let me say, Carl. I mean, do you have children?
Do you have children? Somehow we ended up back there.
give me
Where
their
it's like-
names.
If you have children, you're exonerated from. You're the only true human being that can feel compassion if you have children.
I was waiting for him to go. Are you from Long Island? Have you been to Beth? Have you ever driven through Bethpage? You should know. If you've driven through Bethpage, you'd know. We don't do things like that.
It's fascinating, and a lot of times when Cardiff is on, when you're on with John, sometimes Cardiff, I know you're like playing along with him, so you'll feed into his, like you'll say what he wants to hear, basically, just to not get kicked off. I assume.
It's a little bit of let the reel out, pull it back in, let it out, put it back in. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You didn't do any of that in this one, though. Which is why I think I loved it so much. Is you were literally challenging him at every turn, and it's a rare time where I mean, he does erupt at some point, But it is a rare time where, for whatever reason, it seems like he wanted to please you. Like usually he just gets frustrated and will kick you off. He wanted to have a back and forth with you, which is interesting.
And it's amazing the amount of hate I'm getting for that appearance. Like the amount of people that are saying I'm pandering to John. I
heard you say that on WATP. I don't understand it. Is that really what people thought?
It's not. I mean, not the mass.
Yeah.
not the largest group of people, but the few people that are the messages I'm getting that are just like, fuck you pandering cocksucker.
I thought you really held his feet to the fire this time. It made him look stupid on so many answers.
I think I did, but I guess maybe that says more about the people that are sending me the messages than anything else. Maybe they didn't understand. Maybe they didn't
imagine you build a community where they shit on this guy all day, and then you go on his show. Of course they're gonna hate you.
I didn't build this. I just showed up one day. Might have been day 2, but I still showed up one day.
He was on the construction team.
He showed up with his Lifetime Achievement Award one day. He's like, hello. All right, so the next one we have is his kids. Always fun.
Yeah, it's the first time you were lucky enough to be on a rare occasion where he mentions his kids. Thank God.
Yes. You have to admit this. You are the only one that bring up your children more than anyone else.
Because I love them.
To this. I know, but if this show that we're on right now is going to be goofed on relentlessly. As a father,
can I say, by the way, like John, this all started. John was a newsman. You know, he did his political show with Richard Ojeda and Hal Sparks and all these people. Like, I'm assuming, you know, name a news person, Walter Cronkite, whoever, Tom Brokaw over the years. I'm sure they love their kids also, you know? Were they mentioning them every day? It's wild to be like, hey, you mention your kids a lot. Because I love them! It's like, yeah, a lot of people love their kids. They don't have to mention them every broadcast they do.
You say maybe I shouldn't talk about my kids on the show that's going to get goofed on relentlessly?
It's going to get goofed on. Why?
Because your show is the topic of goofing.
Just go back a little bit. It's amazing. It feels like John is just now realizing, like, what? Why? You think people are going to make fun of this? What are you talking about, Cardiff?
Wait, what? Shouldn't you say maybe I shouldn't talk about my kids on the show that's going to get goofed on relentlessly?
It's going to get goofed on. Why?
Because your show is the topic of goofing.
He went into Ray DeVito mode right there.
It's amazing you had to explain that to him. He's like, wait a minute. You think people are going to, like, make fun of this on the internet? Like, this episode? Why? Why would they do that?
It should become a new category on YouTube, the topic of goofing.
The topic of goofing. It should, honestly, it should be, and that way our shit wouldn't get demonetized so often. We have to put in a copyright claim and be like, we're fucking around.
All right, the next one is called Real Names.
So John constantly wants to throw out people's real names. He's called Cardiff Timothy and Patrick Lewinsky and all these names. And it's something, and I've noticed this from the way you and Tukey have reacted to this. And even Carl, who didn't put his, like, real last name out there. You've said this over and over, Cardiff. Like, you guys are playing characters on the internet. But one thing you haven't done is throw a temper tantrum when John may put your real name out there or your address or whatever. You're like, that fucking sucks, but you move on. So it's interesting to see how John plays this.
Yes, and real quick, Blind Mike, 326 in chat, so you're welcome for the thumbnail.
Did I ask for any of this shit?
Yes.
How?
John, I've told you this before. What people are doing to you is what you were doing on the Howard Stern show. You're Baba Booey. You're Baba Booey now, and we're Stuttering John.
No. This is the difference.
Howard, you want to hear what Baba Booey did this weekend? We're doing that to you. You're Baba Booey now.
Okay, now Cardiff. Here's the difference. I goofed on Gary as Stuttering John Melendez. Yeah. You're goofing on Stuttering John as a fucking potato. Tukey's goofing on Stuttering John as a puppet. Fucking obnoxious John is goofing on Stuttering John as an orange. I mean, and all these other idiots, like the 7,500 people in Dabbleverse Anonymous, are all anonymous. That's not what I did.
Including John. Including John, who's in there under a pseudonym.
3 or 4 times.
At least 20 of them.
He was Stuttering John Melendez.
That's on your birth certificate, Stuttering John Melendez?
No.
You were born Stuttering John Melendez? Well, but that's the point. You were a character. We're characters.
but
You
I
of all
was
people
still
should get this.
I was still John Melendez. And when I goofed on Bowie, it was to his face.
Yeah, well, I don't live in your apartment, so I have to do it from here in Hamilton.
Cardiff, come over if you're gonna bust my balls.
Never invited me.
I'll fly you in. So here's where what might have even been a better point. Not that it would get through to John, but okay. So you're going to use the argument like, hey, they were all friends on the Stern Show. They were busting chops, whatever. You know who John wasn't friends with was Billy Crystal and Morton Downey Jr. and fucking Ted Williams and these people that he would harass at events. And I would say didn't take it well. Should have just played along with the joke. But John would say like, "Hey, I'm so and so from WRLX in Cincinnati," just to get into some event. Like he would use fake names, and that's what he's forgetting is that this is all for a show. John thinks he was part of like a frat. We're in this insulated world. Him and Fred and Baba Booey. By the way, Fred's real name is not Fred Norris. I'll throw that out there as well.
What?
Some people use stage names. So
Eric.
So in the business that John's in, so many people use stage names. Like it's crazy.
But it's funny you mentioned that in the breakdown Carl did of the crying episode. I think it was that one. We found the moment where he had his you can take this tape back to Howard. It's not funny, it's not fun. Like
yeah, exactly.
He
where
had
it's like
that moment.
John did that with these people, and I keep going back to this. Like
No, I'm saying John had his where he gave the speech that was very eerily similar to Billy Crystal's response.
Yeah. Well, I've mentioned this to Carl a couple times now, but like, it's amazing to think if 2018, 2019, when Carl started goofing on John, whatever the first episode is that he talked about John, if John saw that and was like, oh, that's kind of funny, or oh, those guys are assholes, whatever, ate it, internalized it, and never spoke of it again, I wouldn't be talking about John Melendez right now. I'd forget I wouldn't know the guy did a podcast. Most of you wouldn't either. Maybe Carl revisits him once a year on WATP, if that.
Yeah,
but
it would have been more than once, but yeah, it wouldn't have been. It
do you
wouldn't
think
have
so?
blown up
Because at
into
that time there was no real like Opie might have been a recurring character, but he didn't do a ton of that.
Yeah, no, but like he has his repeats, and Opie doesn't necessarily respond to Carl very often,
True.
but he still
Yeah,
goes back to the Opie
maybe
line.
I'm overstating it, but in my mind, the reason they're so
wouldn't have been
fixated
every
on
week.
John is because John was like, "I'm suing you.
Yes.
Take down your content. We're going to take you to court. I'm going to dox you. I'm going to talk about your family, accuse them of posting his book online, like all this crazy shit." If John didn't react that way, none of this would be happening. And that's what's so interesting about all of it.
I mean, to be fair, Carl did put his audiobook up on his Patreon, so
I saw it. Yep,
Can I tell you something I wanted to do with you today? I don't know if you're into it. I mean, maybe in my mind it's funnier than it would actually be. But this is something I wanted to do because John has a habit of believing all these people, like Vince the lawyer.
Mhm.
And like they'll just tell him something. Or even people in the chat will be like, "Hey, Cardiff's shitting on you on Twitter right now." And he'll be like, "Oh, fucking Card." Like I believe them immediately.
yes.
What I was curious if we could pull this off is if right now, like
So hold on. Right now, you can set it up, and we can
Yep.
still pull it off. So go ahead.
So what I'm saying is right now, I'm prefacing this by saying I like Carl. He's a friend of mine. I do a show with him. Cardiff does a show, is on Carl's show all the time. We like Carl.
Eh.
If we pause and do a bit where we're talking about how everything John believes about Carl is true.
Mhm.
Like we say, like he really posted his book online, all this stuff.
No, he did.
We get that clip back to John. He'll never watch this full episode.
No.
So we make it seem like you and I are exposing Carl, and then the people that are watching will know that it's not true, but John is going to react as if it is true. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. I think Hackride just needs to turn him into some shorts on YouTube and just send the
Do you
send
want
the
to do that?
30-second clips. Yes, let's do it.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to pause because I want to give you guys enough space to edit. You can put it on Reddit, whatever. And guys, be cool about this. Don't rat us out. But Hackride, just remember, less is more, and your role is you're shocked by this because you love Carl. Like, you kind of can't believe it, really.
I'm fucking appalled, Mike.
Cardiff and I work with this guy, and we're like, we've had enough of his shit. Him making us talk shit about John. All right, is that the deal?
Deal.
Okay.
And timestamp and go.
So I don't even know, like, if I want to keep doing WATS because I get so frustrated with like. That's why, for you guys that have noticed, the schedule's weird is because I've had weird stuff with Carl where every week, like, I try to get into other stuff and I took a break from John, but every week Carl's like, you got to start talking about John. You got to, like, we really got to go after him. And I didn't, like, I know John's so much smarter than me. I didn't want to take that IQ test because I didn't want to embarrass myself.
Mhm.
And Carl was like, you got to do it because we're going to make it seem like John's an idiot. We'll just put out fake numbers. And that's why I avoided it for so long. It's like, Carl, fucking move on. Like, you've harassed the guy enough. Jesus.
Well, I mean, the reason John always wanted my information, but the reason I'm so gun shy about going on camera without the potato filter or giving out my name is, if you only knew the shit Carl was doing with my name right now. Like, he is blackmailing me like you wouldn't believe. If I don't get those games to him on time every week.
It's crazy. And he gives me, like we split the super chats, but he always says, like, the weeks I don't talk about John, he doesn't give me super chat money for WATS. Like, he's a fucking dictator. It's crazy. And the thing with the book is nuts, where he's made us all pretend it's not fucking real. Like, we all know. Like, guys, just so you know, for those of you that are newer to WATP, he uploaded the book and then he deleted it when John called him out for it.
Well,
like,
no, he
John's
didn't delete
been
it.
right about everything. No, crazy.
No. He didn't delete it. This was a. I'm probably going to misquote the movie, but it's probably like the Godfather thing where Carl showed up at my window one day with a bag of guns,
right,
and said, "Here, put this on your Patreon for a while. The heat's on."
Right.
So he made me host it.
So Carl's like the mastermind of all this shit. He makes us talk about John. And even when we don't want to, it's like, he kind of waves money in our face because he makes more than us. But even that's all built on John. Like, the money he makes is from John. Everything John says is right. And that's what's so crazy and frustrating about this stuff. And I got sick of it. Like, I'm sure Carl will hear this and we'll never do a show together again. But, like, I've gotten to the point where that's fine. Whatever,
What can we do, Mike? What can
Exactly.
you know I'm a diabetic, right?
Is that right?
Yeah, and he sends me cases of Coca-Cola every day to my door just to fuck with me.
He's genuinely, like, a bad guy, and that's why. I mean, I'm starting to move to Team John now because, like, if I have to talk about the guy, then I want to talk about the guy honestly. I don't want to keep up this charade where, like, Carl's the good guy and John's the bad guy because we all know it's horseshit.
Yes. And cut.
Scene.
I'm not sure if that worked, but let's see.
I don't know if that'll
it
work,
works.
but everyone be cool about it. Get that back to John somehow. Do it subtly.
I do
You
everything.
think anything in the Dabbleverse is subtle?
I know. I don't think we'll pull it off. But how great will that be if John's playing that clip?
No, the best part will be John's like, this is bullshit, but Carl is smashing his desk. These motherfuckers.
That'll be great if Carl turned this on right then.
There's a club foot size hole in his MacBook.
I may just take this whole video down now that I have access and just leave that minute up. All right, are we ready for number 14, which is weaponizing attacks?
Yes, please.
Here we go.
All right. So in your mind,
Mhm.
you are. See, this is like. So in other words, everyone attacks me. I have thousands of people attacking me, calling my mother, attacking my family. But if I, God forbid, retaliate, then I'm the bad guy. Say hello to the bad guy.
John, there's a couple things you got to understand. If you don't want to see the attacking, don't watch our shows. Don't go to Dabblers Anonymous. Just do your show and ignore us. No one's going to sorry, Vince is going to your home, or he's sending people to your home. Other than that, nobody's going to your home. Nobody is going after your family. I get you say somebody's calling your mother. That stinks, but nobody in this community has encouraged that publicly anywhere. Nobody wants
Doesn't
that.
matter. It's happening.
Okay, but ignore
Hey,
us.
Cardiff.
And we'll go
Now,
away.
okay. Cardiff. Who
Ignore
got
us.
No, they got my gigs canceled.
No, they didn't.
Did I ask for that? No. They got me fired from school. And did I ask for that? No. They tried to get my moderator fired. Did I ask for that? No. You think that They're the ones weaponizing this shit. Why are you fucking saying I am? They are the ones attacking me. They're the ones sending delivery guys wanting me to pay $50 for shit I didn't
Vince.
want.
Ugh.
That's Vince. That's the guy that you brought into this.
No. I didn't bring Vince into this.
You did.
Oh, God.
But
God,
Vince,
that's so
Vince is a pro.
frustrating.
What Vince is doing stinks. But as the audience, it's hilarious to watch you react. Mind you, it's not that hilarious. You really should be nicer to those people.
That's what's frustrating about it. So the bit that we just did where we're like, oh, Carl's orchestrating all of that, that's what John believes. Like, he thinks every call that his mother gets, and which I don't know if that's still happening, but if it is, that person is shitty.
She said she put on a I think it was yesterday's show at a Facebook message. She watches them on Facebook.
Yeah.
As any 80-something-year-old would. She put up in a chat that she got five calls just this week. But again, is it people trying to sell her duct cleaning, or is it actual dabblers? I don't know.
I'm sure there's some of that too. But like,
Yeah.
hey, if any of you guys are calling John's mom, that's shitty.
Stop.
And I'm saying that now. Cardiff has said that before. Carl has said it. I've heard all these guys say, like, hey, don't do that. That's pretty shitty to do. You know, observe and report, all that stuff. John is acting like you guys are mandating this stuff. And it's frustrating because I've seen it a million times with, like, Kirk Minahan show and Barstool, like, where people blame Barstool Sports for people on Twitter harassing them. And it's like, you can't control everyone that listens to the show. Also, you don't know that these people listen to Carl. They might just be people on Reddit who found John's phone number and find it funny to fuck with an old person for some reason. You know, that's what John's missing, is he blames the 3 or 4 figureheads that he's deemed in his mind for everything that happens in his life.
Mm-hmm.
Up next, we have the pregnant weightlifter, Vince the lawyer.
Yeah, so this guy's a real piece of shit. Are you? I don't know. I know some of the stuff he does is funny, but are you a Vince the lawyer guy, Cardiff?
I tell you, and I don't like talking about it only because it brings more attention to it. I was kind of like, okay, this guy's interesting, but when I learned he did that Artie gas station video, I was like,
that's
fuck this
really.
guy.
I forgot that was him. That was really shitty.
That was shit. That was like, you know what? Fuck
yeah,
this.
I mean, there's some, like I said, there's some stuff that he does is funny, but it's also like, imagine hiring that guy to represent you.
He's a lawyer.
Even last night, I got the same feeling when Kevin Brennan put out Joey C is probably a piece of shit, but I defended him last night on Twitter only because, Kevin Brennan was putting out his mugshot like a guy that's, the worst moment of his life. Let's really highlight that, right? So
Yeah. I wanted to mention that to you a little bit too, Kevin Brennan, but let's keep with this.
Fuck Kevin
One
Brennan.
asshole at a time here.
He also tagged the FBI, Kevin Brennan. What a dickhead. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is that fucking.
yes, but again, this is the guy that you brought into your world. You
Well,
invited Vince in.
He was on the Stern show with High Pitch Eric. I didn't bring him in. He was brought in by fucking High Pitch Eric.
No, but
Why
you
you?
brought-
Everyone's talking about.
You brought him into this universe. Nobody else. Nobody went looking for Vince the lawyer.
I
that's
brought
not-
him in.
That's not what anyone. No one's saying like Vince was birthed by you, John. We're aware he existed. What people are saying is that he was literally, wasn't he John's co-host for a time?
Yes,
Yes.
they did a show together.
That's what people are talking about. Is
Yes.
he didn't just materialize out of nowhere. Is they did a show together, and even since then, like there have been times where John's like, "Oh, this Vince the lawyer's an asshole," and then he brings him back on. And he's like, "Well, he only trolls me sometimes." So yeah, he's around because of you, John.
How did I bring him in?
You did shows with him. You talked about him all the time. You say hello to his kids every 5 minutes.
Well, because I like children. Okay, I like to make children happy. Is there anything wrong with that?
Miss Chianti and fava beans.
John, the people watching John's show, a lot of them are of a certain age. I imagine a lot of them have kids. You know, you're gonna say hello to every fucking one of them. It's crazy. It's also crazy the idea that he believes, like, given what John does, that an 8 and 11-year-old or whatever they are sitting down like, oh, I wonder if he's gonna go after Tukey today.
Oh,
This
yeah,
one-
it is. It's
Next one's called Stern Wannabe.
So this is interesting, where he has this idea that Carl wanted to be famous and failed at it. Where it's like, I guess if you do a podcast, you want it to be successful, right? I guess that is the goal in a way. And who's more successful at radio or podcasting than Howard Stern?
Well, Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, a handful. But
Okay.
but so I guess on some level, maybe he dreamt of being Howard Stern. But I don't get the sense, I guess now that he frosts his tips and stuff like that, maybe I'm slipping back into the bit where we shit on Carl. But
No good.
let's hear John accuse the likes of Carl for being one Stern wannabe.
But what's indicative about what Cardiff said is that he's comparing himself to me. He's comparing Lady Kmart to Shitway, Fat Fuck Phil. He's comparing these people to Howard Stern and the Stern Show. How would any fan take that as so? They think, and I've always said this, Carla legitimately thinks he's Howard Stern.
Hold on. I like that John's like, and I've always said, so just so you guys know, I've been wrong about this for many years. I've always said it.
But he's not. He doesn't
I was
have the
walking, even when
talent.
I worked at the Stern Show, I was talking about this Carla guy. I knew.
Hey, there's a marketer in Rochester.
He doesn't have the popularity, and he's never been on TV or radio.
I don't understand this. It's a weird world he's in. First of all, John's not on TV or radio.
But he was.
He was, certainly. Yeah.
And to be fair, there are people that are on TV and radio every day that are less famous than Carla right now.
Right.
Like it's not the badge of honor it once was.
But also, I don't get that. Like, when you look at Carl, and I've talked with him enough, he doesn't
Don't wanna
strike
look
me
at
as a
him.
guy that wants to be. I don't think he's going to hire a stylist and put on a wig into his 70s, pretend he has jet black hair. Like,
I don't know,
he
Carl.
doesn't strike me as that kind of guy.
Carl's bad haircut on YouTube might disagree, but
All right, maybe I don't get all the visual cues necessarily. I could be wrong, but John has this weird thing, like, because like Carl's in a band and like does a podcast, and he seems pretty happy with how it's going. John is not happy with the state of his life and how his music career went and how his career in radio and television went. So, a word that's used a lot in the Dabbleverse, projecting seems to be going on, where he's like, Carl is a failure at all of these things, when all those things in Carl's life seem to be going about as well as he'd like them to be, I'm sure he'd like $500 million like Howard Stern, but like he's pretty content with himself, it seems like.
yeah, I think he's happy with surviving, like making a good living, doing a podcast and not having to go to the office every day.
Right. And there's not, Carl doesn't do like stunts to become famous, which we'll talk about with Kevin Brennan in a
That's
little
what he
bit.
does. That's what he makes me do. He
Yeah,
sends
exactly.
me out there.
Exactly. But even with, like, I've told Carl before, like, hey, you should do, YouTube shorts and stuff like that. And I've told him he should tag the podcasts he talks about, because maybe it gets into people's algorithms that listen to those podcasts. And his whole philosophy is like, listen, the people that like me, and I don't need, like, the people that like those shows. He's fine with that. If you wanted attention and wanted to be famous, you'd be waving your arms the way we did on YouTube this morning, where we're like, guys, we're talking about John. Come on, come all.
416 in chat. Hey, you're welcome, Mike.
You think
Yeah, so that's what Carl would be doing
potato,
if he wanted to be
motherfucker.
famous.
I did put Cardiff on the thumbnail too. So our last one here is what? And apparently it's just him watching the Shoelace show.
This is a fun little just John clip. I forget exactly where he goes with it, but yeah, he brings up the dues payer after Cardiff leaves.
And Fox, have you considered your entire career has been a fluke? Stern, to Tony and Tina, the record deal.
Oh, I'm sorry. No.
Up.
I know what this is. Listen to this explanation. So, the super chatter asks, "Do you think your career was a flop after the Stern Show?" You guys listen and see if you can explain this logic to me, because I found it intriguing.
Not a flop. He's saying it's a fluke. Like he's fallen upwards.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That he hasn't done anything after those big
Yeah.
chances he got.
Why aren't opportunities knocking? Because I'm a winner.
Yep, that's what happens.
Huh?
Hey, man.
He's showing you
Things
why.
happen to people.
Yeah,
who
he's
work
answering the
hard.
question with
He's
shaking
just
the
shaking a
can.
beer.
Believe in themselves and don't take no one can for an answer. School!
So the reason,
God knows I did
so
all
no,
of that.
go back just a little bit because I want to
Greenland
hear,
Fox
hear that
believe in
again.
themselves.
Yes.
Don't take
But
no one can for an answer. School! God knows I did all of that.
So his logic for why his career was not a fluke, because now you see him drinking on the internet and yelling at people that are trolling him because he's a winner.
Drinking free beer on the internet.
That's what winners do. That's what I saw LeBron James doing that a couple weeks ago, right after the right after whatever that tournament was that they start the season with. I think that's what LeBron did, is get on and yell at fucking Stephen A. Smith for trolling him on ESPN.
Yes, it was the cup, and they won it, not Boston. Aha.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. All right.
All
So
right,
that's
so
all
that-
the Stuttering John
So that,
stuff. Would
that
you like to?
concludes our Stuttering John segment. But yeah, Cardiff.